To do the proper exegesis in regard to 70 years, we must first examine the passages where this prophecy originated, that is, with Jeremiah. The book of Jeremiah sets the ground rules for understanding the 70 years. Once we let the prophet Jeremiah lay that foundation, we can better interpret references to the 70 years made outside the book of Jeremiah. However, if we cherry-pick verses outside that foundation, then use that to backwards interpret the book of Jeremiah, we collapse into eisegesis, that is, having a preset doctrinal interpretation and molding the Bible to that particular view, instead of letting our interpretation be informed by the context of Scripture. Proper exegesis is like a dog wagging its tail, whereas eisegesis is akin to the tail wagging the dog. To avoid this, we've carefully examined the three instances where the book of Jeremiah mentions the 70 years. The first reference to the 70 years is at Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 11. And here we find that the 70 years would be a time when Babylon would rule the nations. From the fall of Assyria in 609 to the fall of Babylon in 539 was 70 years. Therefore, perhaps in 609 BC, but especially after the Battle of Carchemish in 605 BC, could it be said that the nation served the Babylonian world power. The second instance is in verse 12. We find that when the 70 years come to an end, Babylon would be punished. This happened when Cyrus the Great overthrew the Babylonian kingdom in October of 539 BC. Therefore, the 70 years cannot extend beyond this date. The third instance is found in Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 10. And here we find the prophet telling those exiled in the 7th year of Nebuchadnezzar, that is 597 BC, that when the 70 years granted to Babylon were fulfilled, they would be returned to Judah. With this foundation in mind, we can now proceed to interpret passages referencing the 70 years outside the book of Jeremiah. First, we will examine 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verses 20 and 21. And he took those who escaped the sword to Babylon, and they became servants to him and to his sons until the rule of the kingdom of Persia, to fulfill the word of Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land has enjoyed its Sabbaths. All the days of desolation it kept Sabbath, to fulfill 70 years. A surface reading of this verse without the proper grounding in Jeremiah could lead one to believe that the land kept Sabbath 70 years, and from that the exiles were in Babylon for 70 years. The writers of Chronicles here references Jeremiah, therefore we must ask the question, what was the word given by the mouth of Jeremiah? Jeremiah said that the nations, including Judah, would serve Babylon 70 years, until the nation of Babylon was punished, and this occurred when Persia overthrew that nation. Jeremiah made no mention of the land keeping Sabbath. Therefore the statement that until the land has enjoyed its Sabbaths, all the days of desolation it kept Sabbath, could not be attributed to the word through Jeremiah. Here the Bible writer was referencing both the words of Jeremiah and the words of Leviticus chapter 26, verses 34 and 35 in one go. Leviticus says, Then the land shall enjoy its Sabbaths all the days of its lying desolate, and you shall be in the land of your enemies. Then the land shall rest, and it shall enjoy its Sabbaths. All the days of its lying desolate it shall rest for the time that it had not rested during your Sabbaths, while you were living on it. Leviticus 26 was warning the Israelites that if they did not obey the law of Moses, they would come under the law's curse and be deported, during which time the land would rest. What the writer of Chronicles was showing is how the law of Moses and the words of Jeremiah were both fulfilled at the same time by the deportation. We must be careful not to blend these two prophecies in Leviticus and Jeremiah together and make them say something they do not. Neither Leviticus 26 nor Jeremiah predicted a 70-year Sabbath for the land. And that is not what the writer of Chronicles is stating either. He doesn't clearly say how long it rested, only that all the days of desolation it kept Sabbath. again referencing the quote from Leviticus. The writer of Chronicles ties the fulfillment of the 70 years of Jeremiah to the end of the land's Sabbath rest mentioned in Leviticus. But he does not say that the land kept Sabbath 70 years, only that until the fulfillment of the 70 years, the land would rest. While the 70 years for Babylon were undergoing fulfillment, the exiles would not be able to return, and during this time the land would pay off its Sabbaths. Let's illustrate it this way. A substitute teacher comes to oversee a study hall for a period of 70 minutes. During the 70 minutes for the study hall, all the children are to follow the teacher's instructions, which are to keep quiet and study. However, one of the children is a troublemaker and keeps rebelling against the teacher. After several warnings, the teacher finally sends the troublemaker to the principal's office for the rest of the period. Until the 70 minutes are over, he is to remain in time out. At the end of the 70 minutes, he may return. The writer of Chronicles might have put the story this way: and the troublemaker got sent to the principal's office until history class began. Until then, the classroom enjoyed its quiet learning time. All the minutes of the study hall it kept quiet to fulfill 70 minutes. We must avoid making conclusions based on one or two isolated verses, especially when the reading is ambiguous and accommodating to more than one interpretation. Only once we've gathered a broader array of evidence, both from the Bible and from history, can we build an accurate picture of the 70 years, the exile, and the year of Jerusalem's destruction.